So, I guess before we begin with the anime part of this update, we begin by a reminder that last week I bought a handful of Disney movies and How to Train Your Dragon 2. Well, I kind of had a bit of a follow-up this week in which I got a Fox and Hound 2, Robin Hood, All During Company, Mulan Mulan 2, Brother Bear, The Princess and the Frog, My Little Mermaid prequel and sequel movies, Hercules, The Great Mouse Detective, and I didn't stop there. I kind of felt in the Star Wars mood, so I got this version of Star Wars because this comes with a theatrical version. There's Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and I decided to get The Amazing Spider-Man 2 because it was at the checkout at HEB, and I got Galaxy Quest because that was cheap and fun, and I've actually never seen any of the vacation movies, and thought I might as well get... I mean, I've seen Christmas Vacation, but I've not seen any of the other vacation movies, so I got Vacation, European Vacation, Vegas Vacation, and then I got Under the Skin because this one actually looked interesting. And I got that because I was looking at Lucian and the guy at Target was pointing at this movie, and I thought that sounded like a fun little twist, so I decided to give it a shot. There's my childhood classic Charles Webb. There's another finishing movies I have, and let's see. Then we got a 4-film favorite of Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, and Superman 4, and then while I was getting this, somebody pointed out that there's the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 on here, and this has Superman Returns, so I've got 2 copies of Superman the movie, whatever. Then I finally found Edge of Tomorrow, which I mentioned having seen in theaters and enjoying, but I guess it's also known as Live, Die, Repeat, maybe. And since I was poking around, I noticed that the first season of this series, well, this series sounded curious, and so I decided to get that and check it out. And of course, while I was at it, I also had a couple of other thoughts in terms of this is not Carl Sagan's Cosmos, but I think the one done by, I keep forgetting his name, and I got the Blue Planet. So you can see I got a couple of documentaries, just because those are really good things to have on the background, because it doesn't matter if you miss stuff, because you just turn to look at the TV and enjoy them every once in a while. And then I got Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Adventure Time, Explore the Dungeon Because I Don't Know, and I finally got copies of Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. Oh, and Cards Against Humanity. That would be the release and 5 expansions. Now we can finally go to anime, which is in 2 boxes here. And part of the motivation for getting the Cards Against Humanity thing was just the kind of realization that I'm having some potential social opportunities opening up where the people I normally know who have these games don't necessarily have them, and going into new peer groups, you know, it's kind of one of those things where you can introduce people to some of these fun games. Everybody's, of course, played... I'm just humming to myself because I didn't see any... here they are. Okay. I was looking for this, the thing, the receipt. I think One Night Ultimate Werewolf is the one that really got my attention because I think a lot of people... Whoa, box falling apart. Structural integrity is no longer being kept. Okay, we'll just make piles of anime here. This is a really huge update, anime-wise and non-anime-wise. I mean, you can already see this is a huge mess. So, I guess put this aside. We'll begin with these 3 Right Stuff things. Obvious. This is an obvious order, just from Right Stuff, just because Eastern Star has been releasing these Lupin the Third unreleased stuff on DVD, and it's usually Right Stuff who picks them up and not Amazon. And didn't expect much else from the inside of here. I see Japanese with English subtitles on the back. We've got Jin-Roh on Blu-ray, which I do believe was released by them. Yeah, there's their symbol right there. Yeah, because this is one of those Blu-rays with the little tab already closed. So I'm having a little trouble using that. But with all this excess plastic, I can just cut a hole in it like that and bump the camera a couple of times for good luck. For Blu-ray, we definitely want to pull the sticker from this side because this side tends to be a little open-ended like that. Content-wise, again, Eastern Star keeps their, or maybe Discotheque, I don't remember which they're officially releasing it, I guess it's both. But they keep their releases simple. And I got this, which actually was released, I think, more than a year ago, because at the time I couldn't find any information on it and wasn't sure if it actually was anime. Gosh, these things are being horrible to me. There we go. Let's tear the plastic up. And I think I was able to get to verify that this is Japanese in origin. I mean, sometimes things get listed that are not Japanese, but I guess I'm thinking mostly on Amazon. Oh shoot, I shouldn't have thrown that away. But this is another Discotheque Eastern Star release, and I decided to catch up on this one. And so Right Stuf was smart enough to say, oh yeah, he really wanted to send all three of those. Although, I say smart enough, but really that's kind of their default behavior. And it's one of the reasons I prefer Amazon. Actually, this pile is a really good example of why I am slightly okay with Amazon's higher prices. Because the trade-off comes with, why don't we just dig that out right now while I'm talking about it. We have Bento, which is supposed to be a pretty fun one, but this has been delayed a number of times over the past 3 or 4 months, I think. Like, it was originally supposed to come out November of last year, and it's only coming out now. Not that that's a problem, but it would have been a problem if I had ordered it from Right Stuf and it kept getting delayed, because maybe it would have delayed the order or not, I don't know. But with Amazon, there was absolutely no worry whatsoever. It could just keep getting pushed out until it eventually shipped or canceled. Amazon handles their stuff like that. Let's see, that's DVD and that's DVD. A somewhat reversible cover. Alright, so this probably says on the side here, DVD, DVD. Alright, and so then this would be the Blu-ray version. And this is supposed to be a fun series, so this will probably be a high priority watch. Give or take the fact that you saw that I got a lot of stuff, some of which I'm curious about. Lucy and Under the Skin being two of the examples from here. I'm trying to think if there were other things. It's just too big of a list. This, of course, according to this, is Regions A and B. It's been a while since we've seen one of those. So Bento is importable and, of course, dubbed. Does this say 12? It says 12 episodes, complete series. Although with complete series, you never know if that means that it's actually complete or if it's a complete season, I guess, or it's part one of a complete series. The terminology of that is unreliable. So, again, the point I was making was I pre-ordered this back in October or something like that, and even though it finally just came out today or this week, it hasn't been a problem for my Amazon orders because everything else in the order shipped, and that's been one of the big problems. When you order everything like this, one little delay, that can make a big difference between how your shipping handles, and Amazon just ships everything out as they get it. So, oh my god, there's so many things in here. Next up, We've got Leviathan, The Last Defense, complete collection. See, it says complete collection, but this would be the... Oh, maybe this is the same series as the one before, because this says it's got an English dub. Region A only. I'm trying to think if the other one is kind of near the surface, but actually, I don't know. This is good, because if it means that this is the same series that was released before, well, now I'm going to be able to watch it, put it on in the background, I think. I say I think because part of the reason I got the documentaries is that allows me to just not even focus on what I'm watching. Because with a documentary, you don't have to be half paying attention. You just forget to pay attention. Sorry, I'm doing a quick check over here. Here we go. I see. This was the Blu-ray version of from a while ago. It's called The Last Defense. So, yeah, they just dubbed it. I wasn't paying attention to that, but it turns out for the best. So, what can we tell about the release? Actually, maybe I should go grab that Blu-ray version, because we can see there's 3 characters, red, green, and blue, not in that order. So, in the DVD version there we have that, and we have completely different artwork in the Blu-ray version, because the red, green, and blue stuff works out as individual discs, but with 3 main characters you kind of want to represent them on the Blu-ray version. So, let's take a quick peek at the old Blu-ray version, because I'm kind of curious. So that's on one disc. Definitely different artwork there. That's the same artwork there. I don't know. It's always interesting to see how they choose the imagery for this stuff. How it changes over time. And this time I just remembered that that happened to be on my to-watch pile. Of course, this is going on my to-watch pile, and this is the second half of Golden Time. You may remember the first half, me not being entirely sure what I thought about some of the characters, but it definitely had some interesting... Well, I guess it's not really the characters. The series seems kind of aware that it's playing finally with character types that maybe we should or should not be sympathetic about, and being unsure how we're thinking about how the characters are handling it, but they're doing things that we kind of always wanted them to say. Like when a character's being wishy-washy about whether or not they're going to be devoted to a relationship, somebody's like, I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to hold up my life while you figure that out. And that was I guess I didn't exactly explain that in my view of the last one, but that was a cool part. And this is the kind of series that at least thinks that far down the line. It's interesting that it's the same 2 images, Blu-ray and DVD versions. Region A, Japanese with English subtitles. But I guess the issue I had was there's a little bit of a twist to it that seems convenient. It kind of reminds me of Please Teacher, actually. If you don't know what I mean, then I can't really blame you. Sorry, there's a lot of order to this. Let's just go with these next. Hey look, we've got some more Disney releases. Porco Rosso, Tales from Earthsea, and Pom Poko, which are of course Blu-ray DVD releases. Oh my gosh, Disney, you're getting a lot of money from me this year. Some of y'all have mentioned Disney Movie Club, and I haven't looked into that yet, because at this point, it'd probably just be an overload of stuff. Yeah, just DVD and Blu-ray discs. We'll probably go through each of these and see them. This one's feeling a little resistancy. It needs to learn that that is futile. Let's see. Yeah. These are stickers that need to be taken off, but I'll worry about that on my own time. Very straightforward. Next we have Coppelion. I have no clue what this is about. I'm curious though. It is a Viz release, so they tend to release certain kinds of series, but this once again doesn't feel like, well, it kind of feels like they're uncommon stuff, sort of like K or The Tomb. I think they released that. This is maybe a bad week to purchase. Okay, so that says DVD there. So these are the Blu-ray discs. These are the DVD ones. This was maybe a bad week to purchase a bunch of a backlog of stuff to keep me entertained. Oh, next up we have Azazel, You're Being Summoned, which looks amusing. This is a Lucky Penny, aka Right Stuf release. And they have sticker up here. One thing I don't like about this camera is it doesn't say how much it's recorded. I can't even tell how I'm doing for time as I go along with this. Oh well, I just have to make do. Yeah, it felt like a little bit of the cover came off the front. I am aware of one gift that I do believe comes from this series, which is good because it's a fun gift and I'm looking forward to watching the series now. And oh my god, there's too many really good things this week because last but not least we have an NIS release, the Genshiken 2nd Generation release. As you can see, this is following their new style of premium editions, Blu-ray only, Region A. I wanted to get to the booklet in the back first. I see a glossary of terms, characters, and pages and concepts. It seems like a pretty standard book. We got advertisement, Chronicles of the Going Home Club, and the Eccentric Family. One of which has come out, and the other one which if I haven't pre-ordered, then it's because it's not coming out next month. Actually, it's February now, so I haven't pre-ordered March's stuff yet. Next up we have, what in the world is this? That says disc 2 and this says disc 1. I guess we want to look at the contents of disc 1 first. With this, there is some dilemma of if I want to watch this now or if I want to rewatch the original Genshiken first. Now, if I rewatch the original Genshiken, I won't need to watch the series within the series, maybe. I do believe that was it's an invertible cover. Completely invertible. Actually, it looks exactly the same. But that and that are different. This one is something about it that looks familiar, but I can't think what. She, of course, looks familiar because I do remember she showed up in the first series. There's a handful of characters on the front here. Like half of them seem like they were from the... Oh my gosh, come on. It's like half I definitely remember from the first one. And if I remember what happened in the first one correctly, then it should be interesting to see what happens in this one. Yeah, I guess part of the dilemma of whether or not I will be putting on anime right off the bat after this recording, it comes down to I'm playing Starbound. You might know that it's updated recently. And I've been playing it a whole lot, very focusedly. I've had a lot of home projects to work on. This product is suitable for everyone and appropriate for all ages. Open packaging with care. Plastic is sharp and can cut. Display. Okay, so I guess the idea is it's supposed to be for the packaging for this, not for Genshiken 2nd generation itself. Oh well. Well, I guess I'm going to put these together for your standard. This is this week's anime DVD collection update. Nice, huge one. I think it's been a while since we've had such a big update. So I don't remember if I said this while I was opening the packages, but I didn't watch a lot of anime this week. I watched what I consider to be the most important thing that's arrived. That's the second half of Log Horizon 2. Although there's still some interesting things there that would be worth checking out. I'm looking at the DVDs there that I still need to process and some of the Blu-rays. I've created a large backlog for myself. But anyways, I watched the second half of Log Horizon. If I said Log Horizon 2, then I was mistaken, because there is Log Horizon currently airing, and outside of knowing that, you can kind of tell by the pacing that if Log Horizon ended within these first 25 episodes, it was going to be a kind of stupid ending. Not necessarily bad anime, but it would have been one of those ones where it wouldn't have felt very compelling or paced right. Now, when we're talking about pacing, we're not talking about Final Fantasy Unlimited pacing problems, and that one is actually easy to explain. Final Fantasy Unlimited was supposed to be a 50-something episode series, and they didn't have the budget to go beyond the halfway point, or rather they were canceled, and so they wouldn't have any more budget after that point, so they did a rushed ending. And so that one, the pacing makes sense, since that one was paced for that. But Log Horizon 2, I would say that's not necessarily paced like a 50-episode series, since it's actually covering quite a bit of ideas and concepts. But I guess what plagues me is that I've still had people who claimed that the writing was better, and they never explained how the writing was better for Log Horizon versus Sword Art Online. Not even a kind of general to give me an idea of why they might have thought that. And so I still continue to watch Log Horizon thinking about that, but otherwise enjoy it. My guess is that for those people who say that, best I can figure is they're more impressed by the way Log Horizon is trying to portray a management of people sort of thing, whereas Sword Art Online wasn't about managing other people. It was just kind of about how sometimes you do have that one person who's the first person in World of Warcraft to reach level 100 when the new expansion comes out. And they gave weird circumstances, and so one character just happened to be right time and place to become it. And so Sword Art Online, there's a little bit of a convenience in terms of us watching the main character, but when you get down to it, if it wasn't him, it could have been somebody else and we would have been following them instead. So Sword Art Online may feel convenient in that regard, but it isn't necessarily so. But it still does come down to there being conveniences, and you know, I mentioned last time, there's some things about Log Horizon that are kind of like that as well, where there's little pieces of information they could reveal to us, but they can't because they want the characters that our main party are currently up against to not know about them. And so it makes it seem like the main characters are smart because they know something about this loophole that was created for the anime, as opposed to a bunch of rules that were created and the characters kind of stumbled upon them. It doesn't really feel like that to me, and that was kind of one of my big issues with the first half of Log Horizon. The second half is getting away from a lot of that and more towards just this people management thing I was talking about, and it's really hard to say to come to a complete feeling about it, because Log Horizon presents a very different experience from Hack, Sign, and Sword Art Online. So they're kind of the trio of stuck in video game, literally, sort of trope that comes to mind when it comes to anime. And with Hack, Sign, there was a little bit of a mystic element to it where they couldn't really explain how it happened, only that somehow it had, and they kind of had to deal with that. Whereas Sword Art Online wanted to give you a pretty complete picture. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess that would be possible. And Log Horizon has actually been more detached from reality than Hack, Sign. So it's been kind of hard to tell if the ideas they come up with beyond these party management things are necessarily genius or really good idea. I think one thing I just don't like about it is I think there are some basic things that Log Horizon talks about that I feel like our main characters shouldn't have been the ones to stumble on them. Like, the series itself just kind of underestimates the how desperate the average person would be to... It's hard to say without spoiling too much of it. Thematically, I might have already spoiled a bit much as it is, but I keep talking about the first half and not the second half, because the second half didn't deal with that stuff as much, and I thought it came up with some more fun and interesting twists. Some of them you can start guessing just based on the way the anime starts pacing itself. I mentioned a really big twist that the first half tried to do that was just easy to see from a mile away when the anime mentioned one thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's what they're going to try and do. And the anime came up with a good reason why they would do it. But, oh well, anyways, finishing this, I really wish I could continue on and watch more. But unfortunately, this is all that's out, and there isn't even that much more out in Japan as far as I know. At best, maybe half a season, maybe 3/4. I mean, I'm not saying that that's how much is out. I'm just saying that without knowing when Log Horizon 2 started airing, it could have been as long ago that it's going through a 2-season thing, sort of like this one did, because it's 25 episodes, and so I'm guessing timing-wise, maybe it could have been fall and spring or fall and winter or something. I don't know. All I know is that was what I watched, and that was good, and then I guess I've just been... Wow. I guess I've just been really out of it this week in terms of watching anime. So, in terms of the other stuff I've watched, I think it's just been too much of a collection of random things to really narrow down. The big issue being that I know I watched some of the Disney movies last week, but over this past week, I'm not sure which ones are the ones I've watched, and maybe it wasn't as many or as something as I thought. So at a minimum, I can at least talk about things that I know I watched, because I'll be watching more of those. And let's face it, those are just old classics, interesting to watch. For now, we'll begin with, I rewatched the old Star Wars trilogy, and I'm just, it was a nice revisit. I'm not sure what exactly motivated me to specifically rewatch them. I know it's not that I'm a huge Star Wars junkie or anything like that. I've heard of some extended universe stuff, but I've never read any of it. I barely even played any of the video games, maybe a little bit of Dark Force. I didn't even play TIE Fighter. So, when you get down to it, I guess part of me wanted to watch an epic trilogy. I had watched the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson version a couple weeks ago, and I think maybe that's what really set me off was... I think a lot of that stuff kind of led into the Plinkett reviews, watching his reviews of Star Wars Episodes 1, 2, and 3, and that's why I got 4, 5, and 6 and not 1, 2, and 3. And the versions of 4, 5, and 6 I got specifically come with a theatrical version on disc 2, and that's the versions I wanted, because I could see that there were some things about the special editions that were maybe touched up that I might actually appreciate a bit, but for me, the special editions are kind of best exemplified by a scene from A New Hope, where I think a lot of people probably think of other scenes. They think of the hand-shot first issue, or the Han Solo and Jabba the Hutt in Episode 4, or the modified song sequences in Return of the Jedi. And for me, my issue with the special editions actually was something I remember from the theater, which was an issue from when Luke and Obi-Wan first arrived at Mos Eisley. In the special edition, they had them pulling up and coming to a stop, and they added a lot of CGI bullshit to it. And I call it CGI bullshit because they had something big walk in front of the camera. And I might have complained about this before, but to me, that just exemplified a shoving it in your face sort of attitude that's just patently retarded. Or immature, or something like that. I mean, I couldn't respect it, and the special edition is littered with little things like that. And so, going back to the old theatrical version was great, and watching it, I could kind of remember why, even though Episodes 1, 2, and 3 kind of tried to throw similar stuff in there. Oh, I guess you can see the Superman the movie on here. I'm doing more research on alternative versions of Superman. Apparently there's a second version of the very first movie. But for Star Wars, I think with Star Wars Episode 1, the Gungans are kind of an example of just this part where some people kind of seem to appreciate them. I know a friend who enjoyed them as comic relief, but for me, I kind of saw it as a very distracting form of comic relief compared to a lot of stuff that happened in the original trilogy. And I guess if you tried to come up with an idea, if you compared Gungans to Ewoks, a lot of people really didn't like the addition of the Ewoks. I don't really care. I mean, I was a little kid when I watched them, and I didn't really appreciate Empire Strikes Back because there's a lot of drama and twists and stuff that come to it. Instead, Empire Strikes Back to me always just struck me as, well, first of all, of the 3 movies, it didn't have a Death Star in it. Death Stars are always cool. And then it was really always frustrating because the Millennium Falcon always seemed to have technical problems. And, you know, because when you're a little kid, you want to see these things happen. But a lot of those things are about how The Empire Strikes Back is supposed to be the lowest of the low of the trilogy. There's this 3-part story structure where you have the characters introduced, they hit their low point, and in the 3rd part they triumph. And actually the original trilogy matches that pretty well. And that's why the prequels kind of don't work so well. It's because when you get to the Gungans, trade disputes something you don't care. Robot armies, why are we caring? And Gungans, we don't understand why the Gungans are going to be threatened, because we've been told they will be, but we don't understand what exactly. I mean, it's the end of Return of the Jedi. Even though there's a lot going on, and you have the battles with the Ewoks doing some silly Ewok-y things, the difference is that you actually kind of understand what's at stake in Jedi, and at the same time, the Ewoks properly then represent an innocence that's not only overlooked by the Empire, but also under threat from what the Empire could do to them. And so even though their attempts are kind of comical, at the same time, you can see them as being actually, they're really trying. And you're not quite sure who's going to come out in the battle there, except, of course, for the fact that you watched it before, but there's a really big difference there, because even while that's going on, the space stuff is dependent on that stuff. You can completely feel it. I kind of remember with Phantom Menace, even though they had like 4 things going on at the same time, none of them really felt completely irrelevant to each other than that it was kind of thrown together, because when you get down to it, you had all these complicated things which were about everybody versus the Empire, but then you had this subset of it that was Luke, Darth Vader, and the Emperor, which was what everything on the outside was just centered about. I mean, everything out there that was happening with it was all about the resolution of the conflict inside the Death Star at the time, you know? So it all tied together really well in a way that I don't think any of the prequel trilogy managed to do. So, at least we still have the original, and we can get theatrical versions, even if they do cost an arm and a leg. Then we got a new series. I watched the first season of Falling Skies, partially because I read the back, and I'm like, you know, this is talking about the aftermath of an alien attack, and survivors fighting back and surviving against the aliens, and I was wanting to give it a shot just because I've seen a couple of those recently, and kind of felt like seeing how it did. And the truth of the matter, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's not an unwatchable series by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have trouble sinking hooks into you. It throws things at you that I understand, but the truth of the matter is it really doesn't feel like they're at war with the aliens or a rebel force against the aliens per se, or trying to survive against them per se. In other words, you can tell that there's a militarized effort going on. You can tell that there's a survival effort going on, but the alien aspect of it just feels not present usually. And it kind of got a little bit better as it went. It's still not too important. I think this show kind of likes to provide the... I don't know. It's a very strange series with some interesting plot twists that I'm curious about. Things that I kind of almost guessed, but yeah, I don't know. When you're doing something else and waiting for the main characters to realize the plot points you guessed, then that's that, but I just don't know when I would go and get the second season. Because the first season ended on a subtle twist, but it's hard to say that it's necessarily too much bigger of a twist than the other stuff that happened in the series, so it's not as much of a cliffhanger as a random episode has been, I guess. I don't know. Lots of anime came out this week, so I'm probably not going to prioritize getting that. And I didn't mention this, but I did pre-order... I didn't pre-order. I ordered some of the missing Diamond editions that I haven't gotten yet, which, of course, were kind of pricey. But it means that next week I'll have some more Disney movies to show y'all. And since I'm looking at stuff, I might actually try and fill in a couple of other gaps that I thought I mentioned during the middle of this interview, but whatever. Everything's been crazy. It's been a crazy week. Just, I think a lot happening. Oh, no wonder I didn't feel like watching anything or doing anything. Okay. So, I'm going to finish this recording so I can start... Maybe I don't need to finish the documentary I'm watching, because it's the nice thing about documentaries. I can actually put on some anime since I haven't watched any in a while. So, y'all, have a nice week.